Alright, this is Williams with Non-Tactical Devices, here to show you our trigger and how to install it. Triggers will come packaged something like this. Go through 3 loops. Safety. The actual trigger setup. Hammer with linkage. And 2 pins. When you're taking the grip off, be careful, because you do have the safety detent and spring, and if you back it out too far, disassemble it always, make sure you catch it. You back it out approximately 8 turns, you should be able to, like this, have it still stay in there, but the detent will drop down, allowing the safety to go in. So we can go ahead and put the safety in first. Now the safety's in, we're going to go ahead and turn it up. Alright, now to install the trigger. We are using a test jig so you can see what's going on a little easier. We're going to place the trigger in, the trigger going down, make sure it's back under the safety, and press until you can see the slave pin poking through. And then place the pin down in. Slave pin sometimes does pop out. All you're going to do is line up the holes. The hard part is getting that disconnector to line up just right. And when it does, go through. Okay, now that the trigger's in, we're going to put the hammer and the linkage in. You're going to want to make sure that the spring is touching the back part here, and there is a slightly shorter leg is on the left. Put the safety, select to fire, and we're going to need to pull the trigger so that this little part here, that nub goes up, creating enough room for this part to slide under it from inside. Springs in, push down and forward. See, by pulling that trigger, that part slid forward, and you've got it lined up. Now it's in. Now an important part to catch, and it's a little easier to see here, is that this spring from the hammer is outside the wings of the spring on the trigger. So that's on both sides. This one's covered, but you can see it here. So when you're putting it in, make sure it goes on the outside. That keeps these pins from walking, and this one's held by a pin inside. Now that the trigger is installed, we can test it in this jig. If you have it installed in your own rifle, don't dry fire it. It can damage and break your lower. So assemble it before pulling the trigger, or get your hand up to catch it. So when we turn it to safe, we've got safe both directions. Fire, pushing forward, nothing. Third position, we've got standard fire, and fun. Now that's been assembled and function tested, putting on the loops, we've got small, medium, and large. You can use whichever one fits your finger best. I've found that one that fits relatively snugly over your finger works better for pulling it forward, rather than one that's looser, because it does stretch a little bit. But play around with the sizes, figure out which works best for you. Square hole, M side up. There's a little knob on the inside that corresponds to the same notch here. Simply press it on, and it's in. They're easy to remove as well, and you can simply rotate to whichever one a little, and then this gives you the ability to put your finger in the loop and pull forward, or pull the trigger like regular. Alright, so there's 2 types of trigger guards for the most part. You've got a straight or a curved. They come in different shapes and sizes to a degree. They're a little easier to install on the curved because you have more room down here, but they work just fine and can be installed easily on the straight. Alright, installing it on the straight, it's just a little tighter, but they still, because of the rubber, squish, bend, and slide right on without a problem. And pop right off. Just takes a little more effort, and you gotta be careful where you're pointing your firearm while you're trying to do this. It is easier if you put it into the fun mode on the 3rd position. Make sure the firearm is cleared. This one has been cocked so that I could demonstrate earlier. But once it's forward, now we've got more room Make it just that little bit easier to get the loop on. Now you will notice that the loop does rub on a straight trigger guard. Does not affect the function at all, just a little bit of friction. In fact, this trigger loop on this frame has been fired over 1,500 times, and there is no appreciable wear or destruction from the loop or on the guard itself. Now that your trigger has been successfully installed, it's time to go have some fun at the range. While you're out there, don't forget to follow the firearm safety rules. We don't want anyone getting hurt. If you're having trouble with the install, go ahead and you can send us an email and we'll help you out with it there. If you don't feel comfortable doing the install yourself, go ahead and take it to a gunsmith, have it done professionally and safely. Have a great day.